Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Wake Up with Toastmasters. My name is Jean Williams. I'm your Program Quality Director for District 115, which is Southern Nevada and a little piece of Utah. And this is my guest today, Dana Wall-Oakley. How are you, Dana?
Hi, doing fabulously. Thank you.
It's good to see you. It's up early,
Thank
but
you. Yes.
thank you for coming early.
Yes.
So
You're welcome.
we are in the middle of, I know you've been here before, so you've already answered all the good questions about your first Toastmaster experience, so we won't go there.
Yes.
But I want to continue like the further in Toastmasters, and that is that we talked about for our non-Toastmaster viewers, we have clubs, which are made up of members, and then those clubs are made up into areas
Yeah.
and areas, then to division to the district.
Yes.
You are an area director, which
Yes.
means you're in charge of a group of clubs.
Mm-hmm.
What made you decide to be an area director?
Ooh, that's a great question. I've been an area director before, back when it was actually called area governor. And I really enjoyed that year. So when they were looking for people to help this year be area directors, and I have some free time because I'm working from home now, I thought that's a perfect time for me to help out, do it again. It's a little bit different these days because so many clubs are meeting online rather than in person. So I just love to be in that position where I help out and I get to meet so many new people by visiting these clubs that I'm helping to bolster and get through the year.
I think that I was actually was asked the other day about the different positions, and I think the area director is one of the most essential jobs in the district above the club level, because they're the person who visits the clubs and sees what the clubs need. And you could have a club that doesn't even know that they need something and they need it, and the district has it, but it's that interaction. And so many clubs are so isolated, and then bringing in an area director that, especially the corporate clubs, tend to be a lot more isolated, and then having an area director that comes in and, I'm here for you, what do you need? I think I don't think people realize what an essential and important job it is.
You're the liaison, really, between the clubs and the district, and you bring them the news that they may not hear. Like you said, a corporate club. Now, I don't have any in my area, but I know that they're out there, and they are isolated, really. And you bring them news of what's going on outside the club and let them realize that, hey, your club is awesome, and it's a small part of something bigger. You can expand out of that. I many years ago have joined multiple clubs. That's one of the ways that I got outside of my own club. Not very many people actually do that. So that's a way for us to bring, hey, what's going on outside the club to the people in the clubs.
Right. Yeah. I think the area director is also the one that sees leadership potential in the members.
Yes.
Because you could end up with a club where, like I was in a corporate club where we had sometimes the managers in the business sometimes become the officers in the club. And you could have a member, and we did several members that really had no desire to go into management, but had leadership potential in Toastmasters and really could be great at it and would enjoy it because it didn't involve the stress of a management position in the company.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until the area director came and looked around and said, you would be so great. Have you thought about being in a contest? Have you thought about being an area director? And it's somebody from the outside seeing that potential in the members that further helps the club.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you get in there. Yeah. Now the minimum requirement is 2 visits a year, but a really good area director goes as often as they can. Now, you don't need to be at every single meeting. That can get a little bit much if you have 5 clubs and you have 1 or more of your own clubs. But I feel like visit as often as you can. That is how you get to know the members and what potential of the club is and what the potential of those members is. Like you say, you're looking for somebody to take over your position the following year, and it should ideally be somebody from within one of those clubs. And visiting them is the best way to get to know them, and they get to know you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry, my regular alarm. Sorry.
It's all
Sorry.
right.
I wish you could just disable it.
Yeah.
Okay, excuse me.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think you're right, but there's the 2 minimum visits a year. I used to, well, I'd visit mine right away, just as soon as the Toastmaster year began,
Yeah.
and then ask them, is it okay if I visit you more often? And that, do you want me to call ahead, or is it okay if I just show up? And most, I'll just show up anytime, and I would, and it would have just a blast.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a little bit different these days, where there are not that many clubs meeting back in person yet. And I have none of the clubs in my current area, A1, that are meeting in person. So you could go anytime. If you have the free time when their Zoom meeting is happening, you could potentially go to every meeting. It's because it's so much easier. I mean, so look at, you're sitting here in your comfy chair at home. You have some headphones on, and the computer's right there. You don't have to go anywhere. Now, I do have one of my own clubs that's meeting back in person, and we love it. We like being in person. You get that energy of being in the same room with everybody like we used to. But it's so much more global now, with being able to go whenever the meeting is happening. You go on the meeting. So that's a lot easier to visit. To visit the clubs, if you just, okay, here, my calendar, I said, put it on your oh wait, you can't see my phone. Put it on your calendar and go, okay, you have a little notification. So-and-so's meeting is, tomorrow at 1. So you go. Excuse me. But you don't want to be at every single meeting, because you're not there to take over their meeting or tell them what to do. You're basically there to observe and support.
I think there's, you touched on something about in-person versus online, and it's interesting. We've had, well, basically for 2 years now, we've been in pandemic mode.
Yes.
So some of the clubs are just now going back to in-person meetings, but we've had a lot of people join during this that have only ever known online meetings. And it's interesting. I kept thinking, like, asking people, do you prefer online? Do you prefer in person? And the reasons vary so much. I mean, some people really prefer the in-person because that's the way it was. And then there is a different energy.
Yes.
Other clubs will ask people, keep your camera open because we want to see you. If you think about it, if you were in a in-person meeting and you were going to take a bite of your food, you wouldn't put a paper bag over your head so you could take a bite of your food.
Yeah.
You would just go ahead and take a bite of your food, and people would go, oh, okay, people are eating. And I don't mean like dining. I mean, just like taking a nibble of something. Or, okay, your hair's not perfect, but if you came in person, you wouldn't again put that paper bag over your head and just sit there.
Yeah.
Oh, she has her camera off. Why does Jean have a paper bag on her head? Oh, that's your camera off.
Okay. Yeah. Exactly.
And so some of the clubs will say, look, for better or for worse, we love you. Keep your camera on. We want to see you. And that brings a little more energy. And some clubs will say, if you want to keep your mic open and have a little bit of background noise, that's fine too. And others will, just want this silence.
Yeah.
But it is those background noises and those chuckles and stuff that do bring the energy. But the other thing I see though is, if you think about the people who really are enjoying the online meetings, I'm not going to count the ones who feel uncomfortable because of the pandemic. I don't, but I mean, there are people with a relative that's a shut-in, or a small children.
Yeah.
You know, think about how
Yeah.
wonderful it is if you can put the small children to bed by 7 and go on a meeting at 7 o'clock.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then you don't have to leave your home or arrange a babysitter or worry. And if you're looking at getting ahead in your career and you're a young parent, how great is that to be able to, you and your spouse can both be on the meeting and the children are in the house. You don't have to worry about that. So there's
Yeah.
so many people. And also the one we found when we were working on one club, people who are remote, people who are hours away from their closest Toastmaster meeting,
Yes.
who just dismissed that they would never have Toastmasters, and now they can.
Exactly. My mom actually has well, she's my cousin. She has a niece who lives in Northern Nevada, and the nearest Toastmaster meeting is just over an hour away. She wanted to join Toastmasters. She reached out to my mom. I want to join Toastmasters. And so my mom said, find a club, and found that one. And they are doing a one meeting. So I guess they're meeting hybrid, which is both. And so she goes to one meeting live in person and the other meeting on Zoom.
Oh, okay.
So she's reached some sort of, middle ground there where she can do both, because she likes the in-person vibe and she likes the online, because then she doesn't have to drive an hour there, have the meeting, drive an hour back. But that's a good example of it, like you said, and it's an hour away. If she didn't want to drive an hour to the meeting every single week, she has the online option.
Well, especially if you live in snow country or something where you're not going to go out and drive an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Exactly.
But I think there's pluses and minuses to both. Certainly meeting people from all over the world is a plus online.
Yes.
I think, it's for every argument for online, there's a good argument for in person. And I think each club is looking at now, because we're to the point where we're starting to make decisions. We don't have to stay virtual right now.
Right.
So I think the clubs are asking their members, and it's interesting. Some of the in-person only clubs are voting almost unanimously to stay online.
Yeah.
And some of the clubs that were formed online are seriously considered being in person. And it's just so interesting, the different approaches. And but I think the Zoom has opened up a lot of possibilities for us.
Yeah.
We certainly didn't want to learn about it this way.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yes, exactly.
But now that we have it as a tool.
Right. But think about that. We never would have without that push. That I don't think that as many clubs that are online now and thriving online would have been online if they hadn't been forced to.
True.
Because
Oh, absolutely.
We were all happy with how it was, the way it was. And there were some clubs that were doing an online version, but it wasn't widespread. And
No,
if we hadn't been forced to, and there were some clubs that actually did not go to online. They just decided not to meet during the shutdown.
Yeah. And a couple of those, I think there's one or two clubs that just always stayed online the whole entire time, even during the shutdown. I think they had maybe a month or two.
Right.
Then they said, well, we all know each other. We're very close friends. We're in a small community. Why don't we just meet at my house?
One of my clubs did that.
Okay, yeah, that's your club I'm thinking of.
Yes, exactly. They well, I think the youngest member is over 60.
Okay. Well, let's have Pahrump Toastmasters.
Pahrump Toastmasters.
Let's
exactly.
shout out
They're
to
awesome.
the Ranieris.
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah. And she won first place for international for the area A1 contest. So she'll be in the Division A contest. I love Pahrump. They're a great bunch of people. And they decided, yes, to go back to meeting in person just as soon as they could.
Yeah. And that is our only club in Pahrump.
That's our only club.
But it's, you're right. The people in that club are great. I have not visited the club as a club, but I know a lot of the members from different events. I need to get out there and visit them.
They do. See, they're all the way out in Pahrump, and that's an hour drive at least. And yet they come to town for the events that are happening. Like when we have a TLI and it was in person, they came.
Yeah.
They come to contests. They came to conferences in California when we were with District 33, they're a really involved club, and it's
Mhm.
wonderful. They didn't do the online thing, and that's okay because that's their culture. That's the interesting thing about being an area director and visiting all these different clubs is, yes, we're Toastmasters. Yes, there's a brand, and we're all supposed to be the same, and yet every club still has its own unique personality, its own unique
Oh,
culture within because of the intermix of the members.
mhm.
People are so different.
Oh, absolutely. I tell people visit at least 3 clubs
Mm-hmm.
and you'll know which one is yours the minute you walk in.
Yes.
And I've told this
Yes.
story before. I'll tell it again.
Do it.
When I was an area director, I would go to a club on Monday night and I walk in and one of the people there said, I went to a Tuesday night club and they were nice. They were really nice. But when I walked in this club, I knew this was the perfect club.
Yeah.
And the very next night I go to the other club that that person had mentioned, the very next night,
Yeah.
and somebody walked up, I went to the Monday night club and they were nice and all. Don't get me wrong, they were good. But when I walked in this club, I knew this was my club.
This
And
is the club. You feel it. Yes.
you can't make that up. I thought, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And that's why I'm a member of 5 clubs, because each one has a unique purpose. Oh, well, one of them just decided to not continue, unfortunately. And unfortunately, it is one of my clubs. So that is a challenge as an area director, is trying to keep your clubs together. You
Mhm.
want them to renew and continue to thrive. Sometimes there's a challenge with either not enough members, something along those lines, and then they have to discontinue. It's unfortunate,
Yeah.
and it
Well,
and it happens. It's
oh,
something
yeah.
it's something that we, it's just something that we deal with and we try to work through.
Well, it's like any group. My corporate club, because it was federal employees.
Yes.
The federal government does massive hiring and then nothing, and then a bump, and then nothing, and then massive hiring. And it's like this 10-year cycle.
Ah.
Like, 8 to 10 years, depending on the economy and the tax law, the law, and what funding is available, and so on it goes.
Right.
So we would end up with, like a lot of people joining, and then of course people retire, people quit, people move on, people promote out of the area, people get jobs where they can't come to a meeting that day, and then there's no hiring, and then all of a sudden you go from like 25 people down to 5.
Exactly.
And then for your 5 or 8 for a very long time, and
Yeah.
it's challenging. You're always having to do a role. And finally we had enough people retiring and not any hiring. We had like 3 of us said, well,
Yeah.
and it hurts because you get to know. It's like your family, like part of your family moving out of town, and all of a sudden you went from these long Sunday dinners every Sunday, and all of a sudden there's like 4 of you.
Yeah, exactly. So a regular meeting is, if you have 2 speakers, 2 evaluators, you need 17 people to have it, each person have their own role.
Right.
When you're down to 3 or 4 people at a meeting, think about the math on that. You have 3 or sometimes 4 roles that one person has to do.
Yeah.
It doesn't, it's not as fun. And Toastmasters is fun. I tell you, each one of the meetings that I go to, I have such a great time all the time. Even the ones that I visit as area director, even online, they're always fun. My Thursday club, lunchtime talkers, they always play Kahoot.
Oh.
And so you get on your device and you watch the screen, and there's a competition for bragging rights, and they always at every meeting play Kahoot. How fun is that?
That's lunchtime talkers. Yeah,
That's
that
lunchtime
one is
talkers on
that one
Thursday.
that I think was one of my clubs. I think
Was it?
Yes.
They're
Yes.
great. They always have great.
They would always feed me when we went in person.
yeah?
They always had lunch.
See, we're not meeting in person. We're online, but it's still great to. They're and there's a lot of people from the same company, and so they're all in their offices while they're at the meet. And I think their boss is the one who's like in charge of the meetings. So it works out really well. But they do their meeting, and then they do Kahoot, and they fit it all within the hour and a half. It's really fun. Yeah. And there's a
So-
Saturday morning. So if you want one, Storytellers is on Saturday morning. They're online. They'll continue to be online because they have international members. So you're talking about you could be at a club anywhere, right?
Mhm.
Because of the online thing. They have members in Australia and they have members in England, like all over the place and all over the US as well. So that's one of the advantages of the online is
Oh,
that
absolutely.
when you were saying you could join a club anywhere, it literally is worldly now,
Yeah.
international now. And Storytellers is great. They have again, there's a unique personality, a unique culture, and they are really they're my biggest club. They renewed over 30 people.
Wow.
I haven't looked at the exact numbers yet because yesterday was the cutoff. But they usually have over 40 people at meetings, a lot of guests.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Well-
that's a wonderful club. And of course, my own Powerhouse Pros, I was a member. That's the one that we just decided we couldn't continue. We only had 3 people who were interested. One other person said, "Oh, I'll renew," but we know that they were never going to be at a meeting. They were just going to give us dues to help. Well, I'm sorry, that doesn't really
No.
help.
No.
So we didn't take them. And Pahrump is one of my clubs. And another club that I know they're really struggling, Burnt Toast too, and they were meeting on Wednesdays, but I haven't been able to get to a
No,
meeting.
I thought they were corporate.
Are they? Maybe they are. I didn't think they were, but maybe
Oh.
they are. Maybe that's why. Because they didn't feel like a corporate club.
Oh.
But maybe that's something I should have found out. That's a really great question. Thanks for pointing that out, Jean.
But I will say though, we talked about club sizes. There are
Yes.
advantages and disadvantages to each. If you're looking at a larger club, there's meetings where you can go and just do nothing but observe and have a nice time and not have any roles at all.
Yep.
The flip
Yep.
side of that is you can go for a long time and not have any roles at all.
Right.
And if you're wanting to do a speech, it might be a little bit harder to put you in the schedule.
Yeah.
And maybe you get in the schedule for 3 weeks from now, and then you're sick that day. Now it might be 3 more weeks before you can speak again.
Yeah, exactly. Or
But-
even 3 months.
Right. But you're also getting a lot more people and you're seeing more people and learning a lot. And if you're a networking kind of person, there's that many more people to network.
Yes.
The advantage to a small club is you're supposed to speak this week and you were sick, but maybe 2 weeks from now, they've got another spot for you.
Yeah.
Or maybe even if you have a pocket speech, maybe somebody doesn't come in and you can just fill right in on that slot.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the disadvantages is you're probably going to fill a role at every meeting.
At
But
every
the
meeting,
advantage is you're going to fill a
You
role at
fill a
every meeting.
role
So
at-
you're
yes.
learning a lot.
you learn faster, yes, and
Yeah.
you do learn a lot. And if it's more, so there's arguments for and against. If you're brand new, that could be overwhelming, and you may decide not to return.
But then also the other side of those, we were in one small club where, everybody had at least 1 or 2 roles. And we had a guest. And because that guest was extremely shy,
Mhm.
just having the 6 of us there was really, you could just see the person online just shaking. And,
Panicking. Yeah.
there's only 6 of us. And we had went around and introduced ourselves at the meeting. And because we had that extra time, we only had the one speaker that meeting. And we got the table topics and we went kind of slow and gentle. And then we asked the table topic, would you like to participate? And you could just see the person just shaking like a leaf. I'll
Yeah.
try.
Mhm.
Is it okay if I just give a short answer? Yes, just speak. And the
That's-
person ended up joining and just really excelling because it was a small club and because there's that, it's like talking to your family at dinner compared to going to the family reunion and
Yes.
talking to everybody.
some cousin you've never met before. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So in some ways, so it's funny. That's why we tell you, I tell people visit at least 3 clubs.
Mhm.
And if you find things you like about one of them, then visit a 4th club or a 5th club, because you will absolutely find one that
Yes.
matches you and has all the features you want,
Yes.
because there is that personality per club, the sizes per club, the locations when we're meeting in person, or in this case, the location, do you want one online?
Yes.
So yeah.
It's great that there are those different options now.
Mm.
It is, because you can you can become part of so many so many more different. I put on my grammar pants today. The advantage, say you have a lunch hour and you want to visit a club that meets at lunch and they're online, you can.
Yeah.
Where it'll just be, okay, I'm going to hop on at noon. It's done by 1. That's my lunch hour. Whereas if they were meeting in person, you'd need an extra hour maybe to get to it, have the meeting, then get back.
Right. Well, even if the meeting's in your building, you're looking at the 5-minute walk over to the meeting location and then a 5-minute walk back, which is an extra 10 minutes. You know, it's funny. Right now is the perfect time for companies to start a club for their employees.
Yes.
Because especially if you have more than one location, if you have 5 or 6 business locations and each one only has 5-10 people.
Yes.
And so maybe 1 or 2 people per building are interested in Toastmasters. Now is the perfect time to have the meeting. You can have it on their lunch hour or right before work or right after work, and they can sit at their desk and attend the meeting, or even have it where different offices go to a conference room if there's 3 people in each building and have it set up that way. There's so many possibilities. So it's the perfect time for a company. If you're in a company and you want to start a club, let us know. And it's great for HR and development, and it has the leadership aspects, the public speaking aspect, the impromptu speaking aspect. There's so many things your employees can learn to make you as a company look more professional, act more professional, present and sell things more professionally.
And it's not just about public speaking, it's about learning how to communicate in a more effective way. And and employees really can benefit from learning how to communicate effectively with each other, rather than letting things stew if you're having an issue, or not being able to say. And it also helps managers learn how to give an effective performance review, because they'll learn evaluation. I find that's valuable. Even in my own relationship with my husband, we have a way of having a discussion in an evaluation kind of way. Here's how I felt about this. Here's perhaps something that we could work on. And yet overall, see, my husband and I never fight. And I learned that from my parents. They never fought. And we have discussions. We do disagree with each other. But we can disagree with each other in a rational conversation, communicating with each other in an effective way, because we're both Toastmasters, we're both lifers, and we've learned how to communicate in that way. So it helps on all levels. Being an area director is just one more step above that, where you're getting out and communicating and being a part of more than your own club. You're helping with the division, you're helping with the district, and the district is part of international. We go to conventions every year, so that's the great way to get outside of your own district and interact with members from all over the world. That used to be the only way you could interact with members from around the world, but now there are clubs where we have visitors, we have members from everywhere. But then that would be great. Come to the convention, you can meet them.
That's right. There you go. You meet the people you've met online.
Yeah.
So I got a couple more minutes to wrap it up. So I wanted to talk about area directors. We're right now in the election season. So if you're interested in being an area director, now's the time to throw your hat in the ring. And that is a person, as Dana, she has 4 or 5 clubs. I think you said 4 clubs that you have.
I had 5. One of them, I just lost one.
Okay, so 4.
Yeah, so I have 4 now.
I think I had 4 when I was an area director. But the sentence or two I would say is, if you're thinking about being an area director, number 1, there's not a perfect time. But you might be the perfect person to be that liaison between those clubs. So what would you say to a person who's maybe fence sitting? Maybe I'll be an area director. What do you say?
Maybe fence sitting. It can be a little bit challenging, but overall it's very rewarding. It feels good. If you're the kind of person that likes to help, then this is the perfect position, area director. You're the one in the trenches. You're the one that's actually on site with the clubs. You're that image of the district.
Mhm.
And so you're the one that they can go to. Hey, we're having some issues. Do you have an idea? Then if you don't have the answer, you can reach up to your division director. So, and then they can reach up to district director. I like that there's a chain.
Mhm. Yeah.
And you don't have to do it alone. You have that support.
Mm.
But it's really rewarding to get out there, meet the people, get to different clubs, really embrace the Toastmasters way, Toastmasters life.
Mhm.
Like I said, I'm a lifer. I've been a member for, I think it's 17 years now.
Mhm.
Before I was a Toastmaster, I couldn't talk to people, and now as an area director, I'm out there. I'm out there, and I love it. I love it. It is rewarding. It can be challenging, but remember, you don't have to do it alone.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. You say support, that you'll be supported in the position, but the other piece of it is you could be the person that supports the clubs,
Yes.
because support can go both ways. But we're out of time. Thank you very much
Fun.
for coming.
Sure.
I know. See, you guys you too could be a guest. Comb in the front of your hair, put on a shirt.
Yes, exactly.
If you see us on Facebook, like, comment, and share. Be one of our followers. And if you have an idea of what you'd want to be, or if you want to be a guest on the show, let us know. And today is Friday, so we will see you Monday morning on Wake Up with Toastmasters. Thank you again, Dana.
You're welcome. It was fun.